Hello from Buffalo River Country. I'm Rhonda Mills with Buffalo Outdoor Center, and today we're baking in the Foxfire Cabin, a beautiful new cabin here at BOC that sleeps 4 guests and has some wonderful amenities. We're going to bake cinnamon rolls with a secret ingredient, but before we do that, let's go inside and take a look around this fabulous cabin. So here's what we're baking today, these amazing cinnamon rolls that have a secret ingredient in them, which is ice cream of all things. Our guest and friend Diana Eikenberry of Rogers, Arkansas shared this recipe with us. We've tried it and it is wonderful, it is easy, and it's going to be a crowd pleaser whether your crowd is 2 people or 10. So let's get started to baking these. The first thing you'll want to do is butter your dish, and then as you place your rolls in, make sure that they touch, because whenever they're good neighbors and they touch one another, that helps them all rise equally. And you can see here, a bag of frozen cinnamon rolls usually has 12, and this dish will fill just fine with the dozen I have in here. But you can also scooch in an extra 1 or 2 if you're feeding a little bigger crowd or you just want some extras, and those fit nicely as well. And now it's time for that secret ingredient, ice cream. And you want just a nice generous scoop of it, something about like that. That's all it takes. And you know, this is vanilla, but you could also use butter pecan or maybe a cinnamon swirl ice cream. Just kind of whatever your family favorite is. And now we're ready to cook this and put it on our cinnamon rolls. So you want just a medium heat to melt your ice cream and get your butter and your brown sugar just to where it's melted and pourable. Don't be afraid to use all of your sauce, because that's going to soak in overnight. And speaking of overnight, these usually take about 8 hours to raise, and you can let them go even as long as 10 hours if you want to sleep in a little bit. But that's kind of the time frame that you want to count on for these being ready to put in the oven. I like to butter the foil so that when I lay it on top of these rolls to let them rise overnight, when I go to peel it off the next morning, it's not going to stick. If you're doing this at home and you have non-stick foil, you're probably fine just using that without buttering it. When you put on your foil, leave just a little bit of tent space or air space, if you will, between the surface of the rolls and the underside of that foil. Because as they raise, you want to make sure the next morning when you go to peel this off that they're not sticking to one another. So just having that buttered underside and a little distance between the rolls and the foil, that's a good idea. All right, here's what they look like after they've risen overnight. Just beautiful and fluffy and ready to go. So every oven's different and every dish is different. If you're using a glass dish, I would advise that you check these at about 20 minutes instead of the full 25 minutes to make sure that they're not already done. If you're using a metal dish, probably 25 minutes is going to be what you need unless it's a dark pan. So once these are out of the oven, the last thing to do is just to ice them. Your bag of cinnamon rolls probably came with a couple of packets, and that's plenty for a big dish like this. Thank you for joining us today. We hope that you and your family and friends will enjoy these secret sauce cinnamon rolls as much as we do.